All right, guys, I'm excited tonight. I am in Alexandria, Virginia, and I am podcasting with a fellow agent. This guy, man, I tell you what, it's amazing. We're going to shoot one of our highest and lowest Friday in Alexandria. And I think it's no, we're doing DC. Right. Sorry.
DC.
Forget what I just said, guys, but DC, okay? We're in both places.
Yeah.
But anyway, this guy, Sammy El-Motasib, this guy is amazing. How much is the listing? Like $15.5 million?
Yeah, we're right under 16 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be checking out a massive house.
Yeah.
Pretty cool house.
4,100 square feet.
4,100?
Yeah.
That's it?
14,100 square feet.
Oh, there we go.
On 3/4 of an acre.
All right.
9
DC.
bedrooms, 14 bathrooms. It's a big one.
I'm excited,
in DC.
man.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I can't wait for you guys to
Tell
come
everybody
by.
who you are, man. So you're with KW.
I'm with Keller Williams, KW Metro Center, Arlington, and my name is Sammy El-Motasib, as the great Todd has just introduced me as, and so I think, we're kind of in the midst of going through this listing right now, and I can't wait for you guys to come through and check it out and see it for yourselves.
Yeah, it's cool, man. We're so happy to be here. You know what I love most about where we are right now?
Yeah.
Is it's not far from where I live.
Absolutely
So
not.
we're like maybe an hour and a half.
Exactly.
But it's cool because we have so much close. And, I was kind of explaining today, we were vlogging, and one of the things that I was saying is how much money flows through DC, man. I mean, it's, the capital of the U.S.
Absolutely.
It's massive money. And,
so much.
big jobs, high-paying jobs.
Huge.
Yeah.
High-paying jobs, and it reflects, through the market, right? The real estate market. Like, no wonder, we're seeing these 2-3 bedroom houses now go for $800,000. It's like there's so much, and I think it's something to be proud of being here, and ultimately, it sort of creates itself. Like the market creates itself here because we do have so much power and money flowing here.
Yeah.
So I do agree, absolutely.
Well, I'm excited to talk about a couple things because, number one, I'm really fascinated that somebody at your age can get a $15.5 million, $16 million listing. So we're going to dive into that a little bit, right? But before we even do that, because there's so much, and this is kind of like, what I think what has been most exciting about meeting you is, watching over the last couple of years, the number of real estate licensees exceed the actual amount of listings in the U.S. I mean, we hit like 1.6 million.
Right? 1.5, 1.6, something like that.
Yeah, so it was it was more than the available listings for sale. And, I mean, you're right in the mix of that. So how long have you had your license?
I've been licensed since 2016 now.
Wow.
So why
the heck did you get into this business?
Well, it's a passion of mine. I mean, it's sort of you kind of follow what the gut tells you, and being in my early 20s, I knew I just needed to follow where my mind was taking me, where my heart was taking me. I was sort of following my instincts, and
you like real estate?
It's my passion. It's my life, and I think.
Is your family in real estate?
So my dad he's in real estate currently, and I think one thing that really drew me to it was having that in common with him.
Yeah.
And I think we always look for that one commonality to kind of bond you together with, the people you love. And for me and my father, it was real estate. He comes from a mechanical engineering background, and he got into the real estate game a little bit later. He's not an agent, but he does a lot of investing in real estate. And for me, just watching him progress and learn about everything at a young age, when I was still in like high school, middle school, I just saw that passion he had, and I saw the opportunity, and something for me was just like, I need to get into this one way or another.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, congratulations. I mean, I love seeing people get in the business. I come from a little different background in the real estate industry. I swung a hammer. So, I kind of, when I graduated high school, I went into construction.
Okay.
And then, at a very early age, I started my own contracting business and built houses, and kind of, I liked that aspect of it, of being able to build something,
Yes.
looking at it when it's
Absolutely.
done, kind of going through it, and then this is kind of like the epitome for me of my career, because now, being a real estate broker is I get to see young people like you get into the industry very passionately and do really well, because we're going to talk about that, because
Let's do it.
we're under attack. Do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah,
I think
we're under attack.
we're on fire right now, and I think we just need to navigate through it.
Yeah, and it's understandable.
It is. It is.
When you look, we'll get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah.
You've watched some of my shows before.
I have.
I just put it out there,
you
right?
put it out there, and that's what we're here. That's why we're here right now.
Yeah.
So we can just put it all out there.
And
lay
the
it
cool
out
thing
there.
is, right? So I used to be an agent, and maybe one day you'll become a broker. Maybe that will be a path that you
Who
take,
knows?
right? And but it's kind of interesting, because a lot of people look at what I try and educate the consumers. I believe in going from business to the consumer directly, not in between with an agent, right?
Yeah.
We have agents, but a lot of brokers, they've set their model up to really have the agents as their client.
Yeah.
Right, that's their profit center.
Exactly.
Right, and then hopefully the agent will go out and sell something, and then they'll make more money doing that too.
Exactly.
But I can't be fired.
Right.
I can't be fired. I can't be asked to leave my brokerage. That's the nice thing about being a broker.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, right.
No one's telling you to go.
So I get to say whatever the heck I want.
It's all on your terms.
But one of the things that I get frustrated, and I want to know honestly about you, is that what do you think about a lot of the agents? That's kind of like a can of worms, man. And we're not going to disparage agents, and we're not going to talk bad about them.
No.
In specific agents, we're not going to mention names.
Of course.
But are you frustrated? You're a professional guy, man. You're getting $15 million listings.
Yeah.
You don't mess around with those.
No.
You can't.
No.
Your client's demanding.
No, I think that's absolutely right. When you're dealing, within a caliber like this of $15-16 million, you're in one of the most powerful, we're in the District of Columbia, the capital of the United States of America. Some of the, like we said, the biggest decisions are coming through right here. And there's so much money flowing, and there's a lot, the real deal. We're in the real deal, and I think I'm frustrated only with the fact that we are sort of diminished in a way at certain points, but to accomplish something like even gaining trust of someone, a seller who's willing to work with someone who's 27 years old, and to really understand where I'm coming from on a lot of the points I had raised when I had first toured the house was, for me, it was just let me be myself. I'm not thinking about what all the other agents are doing. I'm not really looking at all the other agents and sort of how they're marketing themselves, or what they're doing, or how they're dressing, or what they're looking like, or how they're talking. It's just, for me, it's more, if I'm myself and I know who I am, and being a native to the area, I feel like I have something to offer. And
we understand the buyer.
We understand the buyer.
Right.
We understand that the buyer is sort of, it's a pool that's open, because in DC, it's an international hub
With lots of money.
with lots of money coming from everywhere in the world. We're not just dealing with the US kind of money, but we're dealing with international monetary funds coming in to really have someone come in and buy a $16 million listing. For me, it's just kind of wrapping my head around that, which I had done, being exposed to it at a young age.
What are some of the frustrations you have, And I could tell you, I could start it off, so maybe it kind of will relax
Please.
you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I get frustrated when I can't get a hold of agents.
Yeah.
You ever have that problem? Where you call them and all you
I
do
get
is get
frustrated
voicemail.
I get frustrated when I can't get a hold of just anyone in general.
Yeah.
So let alone an agent. If I'm trying to work with you, I'm hoping that you will pick up the phone.
Right.
Right. At least shoot me a "can I call you later?"
Right.
text to let me know that you're acknowledging it. But I think what frustrates me is that agents, and I'm just going to be frank here, but I think we're phasing into a new generation of agents coming into the real estate industry And we're sort of having to overcome the obstacles of having to deal with now these really well-established agents that they don't really need to, they kind of are in their own world now, they're established, and so sometimes it might not be necessary for them to answer or even acknowledge like an inquiry that I would send to them or to any agent that's coming up. But I think I just get frustrated when people are not humble, no matter at what stage you are. And it just seems like that frustrates me because we're all in this together, right? Like we are as agents.
The professional courtesy's just not there a lot, man. I get so frustrated,
Exactly.
It's just not there.
And I come from a corporate background, I've worked for big corporate America. I was at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers for, about a year, and I worked for government contracting companies. So I'd been exposed to corporate world, and I understand that type of business acumen that I think is really owed to any professional.
So if you were a broker like me, what would you like to see change in this industry?
That's a loaded question, but it's really tough to say that there's one thing, but for me, it's just giving the opportunity to the younger generation coming in, because when I'm a broker one day, that my goal, my mission is going to really be focused more around leadership and really mentoring the people that are coming in. And I think
do you think they want to be mentored?
If they don't want to be mentored, that's
kick them to the curb.
Right.
But
I would be, as a broker, specifically myself, I'd be looking for people similar to how I am now. I'm hungry to learn. I'm always learning. I always want to just understand, hear stories from brokers like yourself, from sellers that I represent, from anyone, because it's at the end of the day, no matter what technology we have, as much as we're exposed, I can't compare to the experience and the years you have on me, for example, someone.
Well, one of the things that we kind of talked about before the show is really, that the National Association of Realtors and a lot of big name brokerages have lawsuits going on right now, right? So, it's interesting because, we're certainly not going to have the commission conversation because everybody wants to try and box you into that, and that's illegal. We can't do that. But when we look at the model that has been kind of going for 100 years, the National Association of Realtors, one of the oldest standing associations in the U.S.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people think that the system is broken. A lot of people think we make way too much money. I don't think that at all, man. When you get down to, and it's crazy because you've read the comments on my channel. But they're just frustrated. Yeah. People are just frustrated. It's not that they don't think that you should make money. Everybody needs to make money. We need to feed our families. We need to keep the lights on. So you have to make money. But I think the big mistake that people just don't. I think what it is that so many agents have gotten into this business such a low barrier to entry. Yeah. And, they get their license, they have poor leadership, right? They're not led. Some of them don't want to be led. They're independent contractors for the most part. It's like herding cattle. Right. It's like, how do you do that, right? No. And, you try and pull them in and, and feed them, teach them. But, getting them to show up to meetings, getting them to come to trainings, getting them to, pick up the phone, getting them to pay attention to their emails. And I'm not talking about everybody, but that's the frustration of a broker, what we go through, right? When we're dealing with managing agents. But, what do you think of this lawsuit? Do you think it has any validity? Do you think they're going to be successful?
So, I think the biggest part of the lawsuit came from antitrust, and that's why I think the DOJ brought this upon the National Association of Realtors. I understand the frustration that's happening. I get it. But I think generalization has its exemptions. And there's always, you can't just put one group of people in a bubble. And I funneling through the comments, it's like some of the things I was seeing was realtors are this, realtors are that. Sort of
you can
really
say
put
it, man.
You
they
can
say they're terrible, they're cheesy, they shouldn't be in business, they should do away with realtors.
But I take pride in the work that I do.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I
me
think
too.
for me, whatever I do, I'm taking pride in it. And something like this, helping my clients, helping someone make one of the biggest investments in their life, I take very seriously. And it upsets me to feel like, because what have we reached that 1.6 million now realtors, it's like, to your point, there's a low barrier, there's a low entry barrier. You can kind of get into real estate.
Would you change that?
I think I would. I would like to see it become a little bit more rigorous to enter into this profession, because we can put real estate in one bubble, but I mean, we can think of any profession and then think of the kind of corruption or the type of people that don't follow the rules with any profession, right? So it's just because getting into real estate already has a stigma on it. It's not too controlled, but I think the DOJ had kind of deemed it as a non-competitive field, which for me is...
I don't know,
we are
man.
in the most
I don't
competitive...
know, though, but I don't know. See, I kind of disagree with that a little bit.
Tell me.
Right?
Tell me.
Because, see, here's the issue. I guess, what is kind of... Look, I'm not a lawyer, right? And I'm not the judge.
Sometimes we feel like we're lawyers, but
right. Well,
I feel like we could do it all.
One of the easiest charges, actually, to bring about an agent is, agents like to write addendums all the time. They go crazy. I think a lot of people don't realize that contracts are made between buyers and sellers, right? I mean, there is a little bit of encouragement from an agent. If somebody doesn't know what they're doing, they're trusting their agent. They have to. And that's, I think, a big thing right there, because so many people got misled.
And that's the problem.
I mean, and they're
we
mad.
Have that. Exactly.
They're mad.
And I don't blame them.
And you can't blame them.
I can't blame them.
Right.
I don't blame them, because if I was in their shoes, I'd be mad.
Yeah, of course. But but it's nice that we're able to talk as professionals and know that the industry's good. And until a house can sell another house, I don't think that we're going to replace agents. I think that representation is important, but the problem is, I think buyer agency is being threatened right now with this lawsuit, big time. Because that's what it's attacking, right? And here's what I think about the whole issue. Commission, number one, guys, commission is 100% negotiable. I don't care if 100%. I could stand from the tallest mountaintop and scream out the loudest that I possibly could. I'm telling you, the public, that commission is 100% negotiable. So it's up to you to do that with your agent and then the broker. And between all of it, you can figure it out, or you just don't hire them, or they won't take you as a client. But there is no set price. And I think that one of the worst things that we've done in the industry, and I've heard it personally, where people have said, like, if, hey, Todd, like, not me, I'm just giving an example, but hey, Todd, like, what do other brokers charge? And a lot of people will say, like, if I'm giving them a listing, commission, talking about it, and they say, well, what do other brokerages charge? And I say, call them up and ask them. But a lot of agents will say, what? Well, it's about the going rate. I mean, that's what they'll say. I've heard them say it.
I know.
I've heard them say it.
And
you can't say that.
That's the safe answer. That's just like the way to go about it. But I think
But you can't say it, because when you say that, you're giving the illusion that what you're charging is standard in the industry, and it shouldn't be that way. It's not. So I think, when we look at it, I think that we need more education. Yeah. And I think, look, the National Association of Realtors should be at the forefront of making sure that we're educating our public.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, think about it, right?
They need to know. They need to know. And one of the biggest problems that we were seeing with this whole lawsuit was that the government feels like consumers are not being protected enough, that there is some type of transparency issue, that we're not being transparent with our 100%. Buyers, and we just are sort of weaving through. But the truth is, it's all there. I mean, it's public information. I mean, one of the things I was reading was about certain cases where people felt like they were being misled to a house that maybe wasn't the best fit for them, but had the higher paying commission.
Yeah.
which I can see where you're coming from.
That's a slippery slope, ain't it?
It's a slippery slope,
Wow.
but the truth is, when someone asks me, how are you getting paid? I'm telling them, when you buy this house, it's being brought out from the seller. That's how we're doing it right now. I'm clear about it. I'm not working for free.
Yeah, right.
My time is not free for you.
Right, well, you can't tell them. And a lot of agents say, well, it's free.
I will
like
not
a buyer
say it's
agent,
free.
you're free, and you're not free.
My time is not free.
But you're not free anyway. You're
exactly.
getting paid.
Regardless, you are getting paid.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think we have to just be more transparent and bridge the gap between
100%.
what the consumers have previously thought about and where we're actually at.
Yeah.
And it's really important for, agents and brokers to be held to a high standard, to be a higher standard, to be honest with you, because the industry doesn't discriminate. It's probably one of the most free and open, careers that someone
Lots
in the
of
U.S. can
protected
choose.
classes. I mean, it's growing more and more every day, and it's good.
And that's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
But let's hold them up to a standard.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of what language you speak or where you come from or what color your skin is or how your last name looks. I mean, it's not about that. It's about being held to a standard, because at the end of the day, it's really our client's best interest that we're looking for.
Are you licensed in Virginia?
I am.
Okay. So, what do you think about, and I don't want to hover too much on this, lawsuit, Sammy, because, I mean, look, one of the things that I will say is that I think that no matter what, this is an opportunity. And we just had a sales meeting where we pulled everybody in, and we're a small brokerage. Well, we pulled everybody in and we said, look, we need to talk about this, because we got to make sure, right, that we are 10 steps in front of this.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that, because no matter what comes out of these lawsuits that are pending, right, and the way it's written, as other brokerages can be pulled into it, right? So,
it has been.
And they have been. And so, I think that, what we have to really be doing as a body, of the, from the top down, we have to really be talking about, making sure that everybody is understanding what's going on and really listen to the needs of the consumer, so we can conform to that, and that we can, we can make sure that as this thing shakes out, we're still around.
Right.
You know what I mean? That we can rise up beyond any of this, and that we can better our service and better ourselves. But talk to me about dual agency. Okay, because a lot of people don't understand that in multiple, in different states throughout the country, and Maryland is not one, by the way. So I, as a broker, can be a dual agent. What that means, guys, is a dual agent. That means you represent a buyer and a seller in the transaction. And as a broker in Maryland, I'm allowed to do that because I am not representing, I'm not an agent in the transaction. So I can
assign.
I can assign agents to help the buyer and the seller, and I can be a neutral party and keep confidentiality throughout the entire process. The issue that I have with dual agency in certain states, and it's legal, and in Virginia it's legal, but the issue that I have, and I've never really heard a good answer to somebody telling me other than, they like to get both sides of the commission. In a transaction, but how can you represent both as a dual agent?
Now let's talk. That's a slippery slope. That is a slippery slope, and I think when it comes down to it, whether you are, because I've been in situations where I've represented the seller and the buyer. Right, I have a listing, or I had a buyer, and then I got a listing, and then the buyer was like, "Oh, yeah, this is perfect for me." Things need to then be shifted. Like my view and everything kind of you got to
talk about it. Tell me how that happens.
And you just have to have that conversation. And I think what we do really well, and what's important as agents to do, is be open and honest and in real time with the disclosures that we're sending them. Because we're sending them all the necessary. I mean, when we have to submit our paperwork once a transaction closes, there's a list of disclosures and paperwork and everything that needed to be signed for us to get paid, right? So we are literally giving our clients, the full disclosures. And I think for me, it's always really important to do that up front. And so I've always had to have that conversation. And so when things shift with like a buyer I'm working with, for example, I'm like, well, now if you're going to buy the house that I now am representing the seller, here's a new set of paperwork that you need to look over. And I'll give them the summary, but I think I've done my due diligence at that point by just providing it to them and telling them, like.
But put me in the mind frame for a minute, okay? Because so let's just kind of take this scenario.
Which mind frame shall we go on?
So Sammy, you represent a seller, a listing, right? Yeah, the listing, and I'm a buyer.
Yeah.
And it's a competitive market, right? You have multiple agents calling you saying, we're going to write an offer, my clients are sending an offer, when do they do, yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden I call you up and I say, Sammy, man, I really like this house, man.
And you're my client.
No, not yet.
You're not my client.
You're the seller.
Okay.
You're the listing agent.
But you're unrepresented.
I'm unrepresented right now.
Okay.
And I come to you and I say, man, I want you to represent me.
Right.
I know you're the listing agent, but I want you to represent me. And then you look at all the other contracts and they're all other brokerages, or you're not representing the buyers as a dual agent. And all of a sudden you got me. Right. And I'm saying to you, man, what do I have to do to get this house? I want it. And I want it. And all of a sudden now I start thinking, like, is that fair?
Right. I mean, I think
What
that's
do
a
you
normal
do?
thought. Yeah,
What
it's
do
a
you
normal thought
do?
to think, like, is this fair for me? Like, am I getting an advantage if I go to the listing agent and ask him to represent me?
Yeah, but you are the listing agent and you represent the seller, and the seller really likes you a lot because they signed up with you.
Exactly.
So they're going to be inclined to listen to what you have to say.
And
you could honestly,
absolutely,
you could sway a deal if you wanted to.
I could easily, and I think that's where a big part of this problem is coming from, is like, an agent could easily be in that situation and sway it, right? You can sway the deal, so you're now getting both sides of the commission, but it's not about that. I think at the end of the day, I have to keep reminding myself it's about my client.
Yeah.
And if I have the seller as a client, and I get approached, there's two situations. Like, if I have a seller as a client and then I get approached by a buyer, and let's say the buyer is like trying to sway, I would have to think, is this right for me?
Yeah.
Do I need this, or is it better maybe if I refer this guy
you can come
to
under
another
scrutiny,
dude?
man.
And I don't want right.
Ooh.
We have a lot of like rules and regulations that we're abiding by, and I think
I had a situation. I'll tell you this. So. So the way it works in Maryland, it's kind of interesting, right? We don't allow that. We don't allow dual agency from an agent standpoint. The broker can be a dual agent, but again, we're separating a buyer's agent, a seller's agent. I'm the middle guy, and I'm, fair and impartial, right? I have to be, right? Because I keep them separated, right? Not one agent in that case is getting both sides of the deal. So, but we can in Maryland, we can represent the seller, and we can have a customer, what we call not a client, but a customer, is an unrepresented buyer, let's just say, in this situation, to be consistent. Man, so I had an agent one time, and had this client that was building houses, and he was their agent. So he was getting all the deals, right? Yeah. And he would get the land deals, the flip deals. They would rehab it or build a new house, and then he would get the deal. So he had a situation one time where on this particular street, there was a neighbor that was watching the house being built. Okay. And they started to talk to the builder during the process. And they were like, man, we love this. We want to buy this house. We want to buy it. Like, we don't care. We just want it.
Well, right.
So my agent called me up and he said, look, man, these people, and it was hot. I mean, we had 12 or 15 offers on this house, right? It was hot. It was competitive. It was hot. We had agents asking if we were having both sides of the deal, like, is there buyers from your brokerage, which they can ask. Right. And you know that, right? They can ask you that as part of our ethics, code of ethics with NAR, right?
We kind of
I can say to you, hey, Sammy, has anybody written an offer in your brokerage?
And we tell them,
did you do it? Right.
Yeah.
Have you written one? So anyway, I got a call from this agent. And I guess she didn't like the way that my agent had talked to her. And she said, I'm going to tell you right now. She said, because it was going under contract. Okay. And she said, I'm going to tell you right now, if your agent wrote both sides we're going to have a problem. Right now, I mean, come on. I mean, it could be fine and legal if the people don't want representation, but I tell you what we did, because it was such a hot deal. I told my agent he couldn't do it. We forced them to go out. Some agent got a completely free commission, and they just said, write it up, we want it, and this is what we want to pay.
Right.
And they bought the house, right? But I felt so uneasy about it to the scrutiny that could come later, right? I mean, we live in a world where it's very litigious, right? I mean, it's, you know,
absolutely.
I mean, people want to sue people when they feel like they're wronged. And, you know, it's just something that I want to stay away from. But you're comfortable with it? You don't?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to be in that situation. I think for me, steering clear of any type of, like, I think a big part of being an agent is you're always needing to think, like in any profession, like you need to think a few steps ahead if you really want the best outcome. And if you're presented with a sticky situation and you're not sure, the slippery slope, I think for me, I don't want to do any harm by anybody, right? And I think by harm, I think I mean just like misrepresenting or trying to withhold certain information from the buyer or the seller in order to make that work. Like, I always think, would I do that? Would I not tell my buyer this if I wasn't representing the seller? And I think you kind of have to always think about it. Just makes you think double. Yeah. And you don't want to cross anyone. You don't want to do anything, because we don't want to be held, to be, well, he didn't tell us this or he didn't do this. So I will say Keller Williams and KW Metro Center, they are amazing because they have provided me with so much guidance and support. And at this age, it's so easy, like, to just say, I know what I'm doing, I'm gonna just do this, and this is what I think is right. But I don't want anything to come back and haunt me, or because I truly want the best for my clients. Like, I want to see them happy, I want to see everyone happy, and I want to feel at the end of the day, because if I do something wrong, I'm the one who's going to know about it, and I'm going to feel terrible about it. So, well,
obviously, I mean, Sammy, you're a professional. I mean, I can tell it. I mean, I love everything that you're saying. I mean, I can't wait to spend more time with you as we're going through this list.
Yes.
So come on, man. Well, you got anything for me? I mean, I know you've been kind of like.
I love. I mean, it's been awesome because you're such a genuine person. Like, you are who you are on camera and in real life. And I think the one thing for me is, like, seeing and really being exposed to your channel and how you've built your business is, how have you leveraged marketing and how have you really tapped into that sphere to break through of just 10 views, like 20 views, like, how are you really promoting it?
Well, I mean, I can tell you two stories. One, one, I believe in, educating the public, right? I believe I'm a teacher. I try to teach, and I've always tried to be that way. No matter whether I was doing contracting and construction, I was always trying to learn the best ways of doing a task, and then trying to replicate that and teach other people to do it. And in fact, I have a lot of people that work for me through the years that have their own businesses right now, and it's kind of an honor. I mean, when somebody quits you to go work somewhere else, it's kind of like you don't like to see that as much as you do when they say, hey, look, Todd, I got to go, man, because I'm starting my own gig and I want to do it. And I'm like, man, like, how can you fault somebody for wanting to be better? But, as far as the channel goes, I think, God, I mean, look, I feel blessed that I've had the type of career that I can teach people in a very sensitive, hot industry where we feel right now that the consumers have been let down. So I feel like I can be a bigger part of that and say, you know what, let's try and broadcast that the public they have a right to feel the way they do. I believe in wisdom in crowds. And a lot of people say, well, there's no wisdom in crowds. And that's not true. There really is. Yeah. Because if I can watch my channel and watch my videos and I can see what people really are feeling about me or the industry that I serve, I can either say that they're idiots and I can say that, it's not valid, or I can say, you know what, there's something to learn. There's something to learn.
Tailor my future content.
Right.
To your point, like, it's education, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
But I think as that, you know, has happened, that our channel has grown that way. I think it's just a matter of, you know, I feel like a lot of people have reached out and they said, you know, they shared this with their kids.
Yeah.
You know, they shared this video with their friends. You know, and I think that it's grown that way. But, you know, how have we leveraged it? I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we have a broker network. I mean, now I have you. We have a broker network all over the country that we are able to send people to that kind of have at least the same moral compass as I feel I do.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and we go by a lot of consumer reviews, right? So if an agent has good reviews and you can read them and they have depth to it, where it doesn't look like they're fake, you know, you can really say, hey, that agent must really care, and that needs to be the forefront. We have to have care. But we've also, you know, so by doing that, we've been able to send clients to a lot of different states, and they've done transactions. But we've leveraged it also in Maryland, because people that are in Maryland or that moved to Maryland, I mean, they've used us because of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's amazing because it's just the power of the video. I mean, I'm, you know,
It is crazy. It's amazing.
I'm twice your age. So, I mean, I'm not,
Age
this
is
stuff
but a
isn't,
number.
yeah, but this
Until
isn't,
you have the
but it's
wisdom.
not customary
But you
for
have
me to
wisdom.
be doing this.
Which I'm that's why I love.
I have
what
a
we're
big
doing
channel
right
and
now.
you don't have one.
I don't. But I have a big
and I'm
listing.
twice
so.
your age. But you got the $15 million listing. That's right. Amen to that,
But
brother.
you know, like,
right.
I have so much respect. I do, and I think.
Well, you need a channel, because if I could drop your link in the channel, if you get one, and then you guys will all cruise on over to Sammy and check him out.
Well, for now, I mean, it's about Sachs, and we can, you know, put the subscribe up here button, right?
Amen
Like,
to
don't
that.
we need to do that?
Right.
I'm very familiar, and I think
you'd be good at it, man. You have something to offer people, you know, and I think that people need to see that somebody at your age, that, you know, and you're not a kid. I mean, you're a young adult, and you know, but still, it is uncommon to see people succeed in it the way that you do at your age. And, you know, and it comes, you know, you've had good mentors, obviously, and good training, but you care. You care, because you would not get this type of business if you didn't care, man.
No, and I agree with you. I think it's just a matter of balancing everything. Like, I am, you know, I'm not super into horoscopes, but I'm a Libra. I'm born in October, and I truly believe that, like, being that balance, having that balance of everything in your life, right? Whether it's family and work and relationships and always understanding, like, another perspective is really important, and it's really gotten me to where I am now, sitting here with you, even, you know, talking about a listing like this, because I've always dreamed of something like this, and for me it was really out of the reach until I just stopped thinking so much and just started working. I put my head down and I kind of kept going after it, and commitment has been huge, and it teaches you a lot. Like, it teaches you a lot when you're committed to something and you're willing to say, yeah, I messed up, or like, I did this wrong. Like, maybe I should take a step back and I'll listen to the person who actually was trying to tell me this in the first place, right? But then it comes down to, like, why I love real estate is because it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter, like we said, where you're coming from. It's just about the right relationships and how you choose to foster them and how you keep them, right? Because that's what truly ultimately had brought me to this point, by really just breaking that. Like, I would consider myself a professional, but I think consistently being a good friend, right? Or just someone who's there, who's checking in, the way that you foster your relationships with, you know, people leads to, and you always hear it, right? Like, when I was doing the real estate classes, when I was just in my earlier 20s, it was like relationships, like, just talk to everyone. But then it's like, I could talk to someone and there's no substance in our conversation. What are they going to remember? Why are they going to even care? So I think I put a big emphasis on not just building the relationships, but sustaining those relationships with substance. And
that goes beyond the check.
Education, exactly. People want the knowledge. People are hiring you because, and we don't work for free, but they want the knowledge and expertise that you have. And I think knowledge can be acquired at any age. And for me, it was the more I knew, the more I could give back. And the more I gave back, the more I started to see the results start to yield towards my favor. And it was sort of just like putting my ego aside for like 5 seconds. And, you know, I know like a YouTube channel and the Instagram pages and the followers, they're so important in our day and age now. But, you know, it's unfortunate that we can get so caught up with, I have this many followers, I have this many likes, or I have this many comments, or I have this many. But I think once you start to do what you do and do it well,
Yeah.
everything flows.
Yeah.
I'm a believer. So.
Well, I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, Todd,
Yeah.
and I'm really looking forward to walking you through the property tomorrow. It's definitely one to see. I mean,
That's awesome,
A
man.
lot
Maybe
to
we'll
see.
catch some lunch or do something. We'll
Let's
hang
do
out.
it.
We'll
Of
check out the
course.
listing. And
Yeah.
thanks so much for podcasting with me tonight.
thanks, Todd. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
appreciate
And we'll definitely have to do it again soon.
Yeah. And guys, we're going to encourage Sammy to get a YouTube channel going. So if anybody wants to see
Let me know.
Sammy's YouTube channel, you can hit that in the comments, guys. And as always, I love you all. I appreciate you. If you got a couple nuggets out of this episode, guys, go ahead and hit the like button. It'll let Sammy and myself know that you did. We always love it when you subscribe. Smash that alert bell. Guys, we'll see you next time. Sammy?
Thank you. Thank you.
Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.